Hello and welcome to Matt's Reloading Bench. Today we're going to do a recap on how the last couple of weeks have gone because it's been anything but ideal and my lack of patience has bit me in the ass. What I'm getting at is bad weather is bad weather, and there's nothing that you can do to force something to happen. And that's a hard lesson that I had to learn the other day when I was at the range. I wasted a bunch of materials, which resulted in wasting my money and my time. The reason that I say this is I went to the range 2 weeks ago to try and film the 5-shot groups for the 6.5 Prc. I'm at the range today. It is quite chilly and very, very windy. And it was so windy and cold. I got all my stuff set up. I was ready to start filming, and I just decided it was flat out miserable, and I knew I wasn't going to get any good results because of the weather. So I went out this week, and it wasn't cold, but it was still really windy. It was like 15-mile-an-hour steady wind with 30-mile-an-hour gusts, and it was coming straight on from my back. So I figured it wasn't going to push the bullet left and right all that much because it wasn't a side wind. The wind was going with the bullet. Well, the part in that scenario that I did not take into effect was how the wind was going to affect me. So what ended up happening is the wind was gusting bad enough where you'll be able to see in the footage that I show. Number one, it was making the camera shake. And number two, it was like somebody was sitting there lightly pushing on my shoulder. And when you have the stock shouldered and your face on that cheek comb, that completely affects your ability to shoot and to be able to shoot tight groups. So I proceeded to just carry on and got done shooting, the 5-shot groups with the Retumbo and the 5-shot groups with the H1000 powders. Went down, looked at my targets, and realized yet again I wasted my time and my money because these are the groups that I was able to get, and they are downright terrible. And I know that through my experience in reloading that these groups are so large, I know it wasn't the loads themselves. It was because of me and the wind affecting the push on my shoulder. So I should have stopped after the first 5-shot group. But I thought at the time, well, maybe it's just a bad powder charge and things will either get smaller or stay the same as I go on through the different 1/10 grain increment steps. Well, it didn't really improve all that much. The one takeaway that I got was statistical data from the lab radar. I was able to figure out that in regards to standard deviation and extreme spread, I'm going to rule out using Retumbo altogether. The reason being is the numbers were way higher than what I wanted. I'm going to end up reloading the whole gamut and starting over from scratch. And hopefully I can have something better for you guys next week. Because unfortunately, this stuff is just straight up trash as far as group sizes. I'm going to just go over all the statistical data that I got because I will not be redoing the Retumbo. I'm only going to redo the H1000. So here's what I got. With the Retumbo powder, I had a standard deviation of 6.44 with an extreme spread of 17.6 with an average muzzle velocity of 29.73. The group size was 1.62 MOA with a mean radius of 0.62 MOA. At 58.1 grains, we've got a standard deviation of 10 with an extreme spread of 21. The group size was 2.33 MOA with a mean radius of 0.75 MOA. At 58.2 grains, we got a standard deviation of 8.2 with an extreme spread of 20.14. The group size was 2.69 MOA with a mean radius of 0.83 MOA. At 58.3 grains of powder, standard deviation is 10.27 with an extreme spread of 26.78 with an average muzzle velocity of 29.83. The group size was 1.53 MOA with a mean radius of 0.64 MOA. At 58.4 grains of powder, I've got a standard deviation of 8.23 with an extreme spread of 20.58 and an average muzzle velocity of 29.90. The group size was 1.2 MOA with a mean radius of 0.52 MOA. And at 58.5 grains with the Retumbo, we've got a standard deviation of 7.35 with an extreme spread of 18.31. The group size was 1.39 MOA with a mean radius of 0.47 MOA. Now moving on to the H1000 powder. At 56.9 grains, we've got a standard deviation of 9.03, an extreme spread of 24.88 with an average muzzle velocity of 29.37. The group size was 0.87 MOA with a mean radius of 0.26 MOA. At 57.0 grains of powder, I've got a standard deviation of 4.05 with an extreme spread of 10.91 with an average muzzle velocity of 29.49. The group size was 1.59 MOA with a mean radius of 0.74 MOA. At 57.1 grains of powder, I've got a standard deviation of 4.13, an extreme spread of 10.97 with an average muzzle velocity of 29.60. The group size is 1.52 MOA with a mean radius of 0.62 MOA. At 57.2 grains of powder, I've got a standard deviation of 3.56, an extreme spread of 8.59 with an average muzzle velocity of 29.63. The group size was 1.29 MOA with a mean radius of 0.52 MOA. At 57.3 grains of powder, I've got a standard deviation of 9.75, an extreme spread of 20.55 with an average muzzle velocity of 29.71. The group size was 1.15 MOA with a mean radius of 0.54 MOA. And at 57.4 grains with the H1000, I've got a standard deviation of 6.35 with an extreme spread of 15.61 and an average muzzle velocity of 29.75. The group size is 1.81 MOA with a mean radius of 0.55 MOA. So now you can see why I've decided to just rule out the Retumbo. The results were not terrible by any means whatsoever, but they were not as good as what I got with the H1000. And so I would rather not waste the powder and the bullets just to reshoot those groups with the Retumbo powder. So I've got my brass over here, and I'm going to go ahead and reload those with the 6 charges for the H1000 powder, and I will have to wait until I get another range day. And hopefully this time I've got good weather, and if I don't, I hope that I'll be smart enough not to repeat my mistake. If you guys have any questions about any of this stuff that I've shown, please don't be afraid to ask in the comment section below. If you like my channel, let me know. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, and it'll keep you up to date on future videos that I have coming out. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, shoot straight and be safe.